Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Business Enhancement webinar. This is our second in a series of free educational webcasts presented by Lynn Switanowski Barrett and produced by PetAge and Pet Store Pro. Pet Store Pro is the free online training tool designed specifically for pet stores. Pet Store Pro teaches critical skills for store associates, managers, and owners. Learn more at PetStorePro.com, a service of the Pet Industry Distributors Association. Today's webinar is sponsored by Sturtevant's Veterinary Remedies. Family owned and operated since 1871, Sturtevant's has been caring for and treating skin conditions on pets for 146 years. All of their products are made in the USA using pharmaceutical-grade ingredients to help making pets with skin conditions well. You can learn more about Sturtevant's at SturtevantsVetRemedies.com. My name is Alan Basis, and I'm the publisher of PetAge, a 45-year-old media brand covering the pet retail industry through print, online, social media, live events like today's webinar. We are so happy you have joined us today to learn more about how to plan for your pet business to profit. In today's retail marketplace, the success of your retail business depends on how you interpret the change in both consumer and business trends and how you plan for your business to succeed. For a pet retail business to thrive, one must constantly improve processes, keep up with consumer wants and needs, and be nimble enough to change direction when warranted. There are so many distractions for retailers today, it sometimes feels overwhelming to be able to tackle it all. This seminar will help you focus on how your business must plan to succeed in 2017 and beyond. We hope to help you to deal with increased competition from both traditional brick and mortar and e-commerce stores, better align the product assortment to better meet shifts in consumer recreational activities, and improve your overall productivity and efficiency. You know, it's not enough to understand these concepts, so in this webinar, we'll show you how to implement them. Using more than 29 years of retail experience as her guide, Lynn Switanowski Barrett leads the CBCG team to engage with retailers, e-tailers, and manufacturers, helping them create and implement profit-improving sales, marketing, and inventory management strategies. CBCG helps retailers of all sizes understand the opportunities created by changing consumer trends. Lynn speaks frequently at retail trade shows like Global Pet Expo, Animal Supply Buying Shows, and others. Lynn, this webcast is all yours.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks everybody for being here today. You don't get to see my face, you get to see my dog, Brady, who is also happy to be here and present to all of you today. And as Alan said, what we're really going to spend time doing today is talking about your business and the complexities that have happened. And I often say this when I'm speaking to audiences live, and it's the same concept here, is that your business has gotten more complex because the distribution channels, the opportunities for consumers to buy have gotten more complex, and there's just more choice in the marketplace for everybody to buy. So the question is, how do you do what you can as a brick and mortar retailer, as an e-commerce pet retailer, to get consumers to buy in your location? And we're going to talk about some things today that will, at least if you haven't thought about it this way, maybe it'll make you think, give you some tips and tactics, and help you to move your business forward in 2017 and beyond. And we're going to talk about cost and revenue and all those things, but before we dive in, I just want to say there are many ways. Alan didn't mention it, but if you want to get a copy of this presentation, go to your question section and just put, please send me a copy. What we want you to do is know that there is lots of access to this information, whether it's on the PetAge website, whether it's at Pet Store Pro or from ourselves directly. Our goal is to give you information that you can help your business go forward. So please don't forget. As well, as we go along, we're going to save time at the end for questions. So if you have a question, please, at any point during the presentation, it's not that we're ignoring you, just send it, and at the end, we've saved time for questions and we'll help you answer those. Okay? So let's talk about the fact for a second. I start out with something very simple, and it's a concept that I'm sure you all understand, but do you execute it on a daily basis, which is to know your break-even point. And by that I mean, how much revenue are you bringing in on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, and what are your total costs? And the idea is, what do I need to keep the doors open to make this business viable? And then what do I want to have happen to make even more money? To take a larger salary, to reinvest in the business, to expand the space, to retire. So what are your total revenue and total costs? And if that is one piece of information that I would urge you all to know on a at least a weekly basis. What am I making this week? What do I need? What does it cost me this week? Whether that's payroll hours, whether that's how much is the cost of my goods that I'm selling, what's my overall margin? And many business owners that I work with don't know these. They build their store, they're new, they open their store, and they don't know what it takes to actually be successful in this venture. So I'm starting out with a simple concept, but a concept that people don't necessarily pay attention to as much as they need to. Total cost, total revenue in perfect balance so that you know how much money to make. And essentially, if we talk about 3 ways to lower your break-even point, as in make more money, you obviously can raise your prices, you can decrease expenses, and you can lower your invested capital in the business. And when I talk about increasing sales prices, in our business, that may be one of the toughest, right? We have competition from across the board. While there are categories within your business that there are not standard prices available for. Treats is a great example of that. Margin on those is much higher. Do you know your profit margin by category of your business? Do you know how much money each category brings in? And if you don't, it's something that you should pay attention to. We're going to talk about your inventory management process, but where are your sale prices? Where can you make a little bit more money? Where do you need to focus on being more competitive with prices to meet your competition? And then in terms of your expenses, what are your payroll, marketing, cost of goods, and operational expenses? Again, this goes back to your knowing your total cost for your business. But these are the 4 categories where you have the most expense. Obviously, your cost of goods is your number 1 expense, but your payroll. Do you know what your payroll is on a weekly basis? And when I say no, how many hours is that? What are your costs per hour for payroll overall? Are there ways that you can manage your hours of payroll to maximize efficiency in your location, to better meet customer needs, and yes, potentially to reduce the cost of total payroll hours? Something to think about. Marketing expenses. We're going to talk a little bit about improving your marketing efficiency by using social media today, but do you know your marketing expenses? Do you know the return on investment that you get from all the marketing that you do? If you run an ad, if you run an event, if you run a promotion on Facebook, how much did it cost you? How many people did you reach? How much money did those people spend? And therefore, was it worth my time and energy in this investment? It is constantly asking and assessing yourself, should I do this again? Did this pay off? Did my customers respond based on this marketing activity that I did? So again, I'm throwing a lot out at you, but really what I want you to just hear me say is know the total expenses by product category, your payroll expenses, whether that's weekly, whether that's monthly, your marketing expenses, again, monthly, quarterly, annually, the cost of goods. How much does it cost you to sell goods in each category of your business, and are there any ways to improve that? And then your operational expenses. How much does it cost you to keep the doors open? How much does it cost you to run your computer? How much are your credit card fees? Are there any potential to reduce the cost of these expenses? Have you looked at it? I know it's easy for me to sit here and tell you, hey, reassess your credit card provider and see if you can negotiate a lower rate. And I know that that takes a lot of time and energy, and some of you are locked in. But it may be something to think about over the course of, I should review this every year or two. I'm not telling you to review it every month, but every year or two, am I getting the best deal? Even if I go back to my same provider and show them an offer from someone else, you will be pleasantly surprised sometimes getting people to change your rates, change some fees, reduce some things, reduce some per transaction charges if you can show them that you can change and get a lower rate somewhere else. So how often do you review your costs? You should, my recommendation is at least annually, and some of these things, obviously, from a marketing and payroll perspective, quarterly, and maybe even monthly. You just got back, some of you, from, Global Pet Expo. Did you look for new products that you can sell in your store that would offer you higher margins? Did you work with some vendors on some potentially new pricing? That is a perfect time when you go to a show like Global to speak to your vendor partners on a regular basis and get them to help you improve the mix of the products that you sell and the profit margins on those for you. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well. The last thing I'll leave you with is, from an employee perspective, upselling and cross-selling. Do you train your staff to do that? Do you train them to, on a constant basis, add another unit to the sale? How can you do that? Do you merchandise your store in a way that shows complementary products around other products you sell, so that instead of going from a 1-unit sale, you go to a 3-unit sale because everything is right there? My example at this time of year is there's lots of puppies. What does your end cap look like near the front? Do you have one puppy product, or do you have 10 products that are all needed for puppies right there and easy for your customers to buy? Flea and tick, any kind of outdoor remedies for the summer, same concept. Shampoo, brush. Again, think about things that food and treats, do they go together? Think about complementary products and expanding and upselling and cross-selling to your customers, even if it's a suggestive sale, meaning let me put a fixture or a display together that showcases all these items. I know that may be different than some of you and how you merchandise today, but I would tell you that it's an opportunity to increase your sales at any given point, because your customers want the path of least resistance to the purchase. The old school retail mindset was, I'll get the customers to walk to the back of the store, walk up and down every single aisle. And as many of you can attest, if we were sitting in a room in front of each other, we would talk about how distracted your customers are and how little time they have to shop in your stores. The easier you make it for them, the more opportunity you have to sell them multiple items. So I'm going to break up this conversation in terms of making more money and profiting more into 3 areas. Talk about your inventory, we're going to talk about your marketing, and we're going to talk about the relationships that you have with those great vendors and how to improve that to improve and more profit for your business. So let's talk about how you manage your inventory first. And I hope this is your store, all of you. It looks neat, it's organized, it's interesting, the wall color is great, and every piece of merchandise is absolutely saleable. But for the most part, I know that it isn't this way in every single store. How do you know if you have too much merchandise in your stores? The dreaded dusty merchandise on your shelf. The dreaded, I can't get into the back room because it is overflowing with merchandise. This isn't an inventory planning session, but if it was, I would tell you that a quick formula to take a look at is, how much current inventory do you have on your books, and again at retail, not at cost, but at retail, you should be able to multiply that number by 8 to 10 and come up with what your annual sales are. That's turning your inventory 8 times. So how much do you have on the floor today? Multiply that by a function of 8, and that should be what you do in annual sales. That's what really good, efficient retailers in your industry do. If you're turning twice a year, you have a lot of inventory and could work to make more money by investing in a little bit less merchandise. And frankly, I don't mean less of the right stuff, I mean less of the wrong stuff. If you have that box packed in the back of Christmas or Easter or fall clothes or sweaters that you didn't sell last year, that's too much merchandise. If your fixtures are packed, you got too much merchandise. And frankly, going back to knowing your costs and your total revenue and total costs, I hope that at any given point you all know the value of your inventory right now at this very minute. I won't make you take a poll, but I do this sometimes when we do webinars. There's a button that says poll here. How many of you, if you want to reply, how many of you actually know the value of your inventory right now on hand at this very minute as you take this webinar? We'll go on and we'll come back to that, but feel free to answer. What I want you to think about in terms of improving your inventory, again, most important that you understand, A, what the value is and how much inventory you're carrying. If I'm asking you, which is the industry standard, to turn 8 times, you should have about a month and a half worth of inventory, maybe 2 months, if you're coming up on one of the biggest months of the year. But so how much at any given time do you have on the floor? And what are the items that are selling? Do you know key items, critical inventory, as I like to call them, never outs? And those are the items that you never want to be out of stock on. And that, do you know what those are? Do you know how to plan? Do you know how to plan for those? And do you order accordingly? The inventory planning process is demand and supply equaling customer need. So critical pieces. How much stock do you have in food? What's your reorder levels on your most popular bags of food, on your most popular treats, on your most popular beds and blankets? And what do you want to order up to in that? How do you want to make sure that you are never out of those items? It looks like somebody has their volume on. If you could all just check and mute yourselves, because somebody in the background there is being really loud. Thank you. So again, are there key items, and do you have safety stock levels? Do you have set up reorder levels for those critical items? Because you want to make sure that you're never out of the right things for your customer to buy, and that you can always do sales. But at the end of the day, you don't want to have too much of other items. That's the most critical piece. Strategic inventory management, as I like to call it, will help you save the most money for your business. So when we're talking about planning for your business to profit, focusing on your inventory on a regular basis. And with the distributors that you work with, you have a really great model that you can reorder every week. Are you using that model effectively to manage your inventory and improve your profits? Just to give you a sense, this business that I want to show you here, because some of you are not quite at the 8 to 10 times turn, but if your business was planned to do $10,000 in sales, and for that you needed to have $25,000 in stock, you can see that's a 2.5 time turn. Having the right inventory in your, what I'm calling in the purple thing you'll see here, is $25,000 of the right inventory to produce $10,000 of sales. That's a 2.5 times ratio. That's good inventory. That's the right merchandise at the right stock levels, in the right categories, at the right prices. But if you carry old merchandise, that stuff in the boxes that's not even on the selling floor, the stuff that's dusty on the back of the shelves, in fact, That now equates to $5,000 on the right-hand side, $5,000 tied up in old merchandise, and you only have $20,000 of new, what I'm calling saleable merchandise. In the same 2.5 turn, you're only going to produce $8,000 worth of sales. Does not matter. I know this may be hard for some of you to hear. It does not matter the total value of your inventory. If it is old and unsaleable, you inherently all know how difficult that merchandise is to get rid of. So what your job is to constantly keep your merchandise fresh, to constantly pay attention to what is selling, to what is not selling, and as opposed to having it sit there and get dusty because it's 8 months, a year, 2 years old, you constantly have to liquidate that merchandise at whatever price it is. If it's old and distressed and you have boxes and boxes in the back room, come up with a plan to liquidate it, even if you end up giving it away. Even if you do a $1 sale, pick your choice, a $5 sale. Any money that you can get out of that old merchandise to then reinvest in new, fresh merchandise. You just came back from a great show. You probably all saw really good merchandise that you don't have the money to bring in right now. If you were able to liquidate the old, not selling merchandise, you would be able to bring in that new merchandise, and it may be something that your customer is more interested in buying at this particular time. So I just want to show you how it affects your business. Again, we're talking about helping you save and plan for more profit. The one piece that is the hardest thing for many, many retailers, and not just pet retailers, to take in is taking a markdown. It is not a bad thing to take a markdown. What it is saying is I have identified something that I thought was going to sell at a certain rate, and it is not performing to that rate. That is it. It does not mean you're a bad buyer. It means you tested something, the customer didn't like it the way that you thought it would. So what you want to do is liquidate it, move on, and bring in something else that could be your next greatest, best item. As I like to say, your inventory is not like fine wine. It does not get better with age. Please keep that in mind. Do not take it personally. Just move through, create a plan. How am I paying attention to this? If you have a POS system, go to what I call the bottom dweller report, and that is looking at the items that have sold 0 units. And if you have a POS system, you should be able to put in a time frame that said, I want to know what hasn't sold 0 units in 0 to 180 days, or in 181 to 360 days, 365 days. Those are the items that need to go away. Your customer has said, based on where it is in the store, if it's on the back shelf, it's actually packed away in the back, your customer is saying, I don't want to buy this. It is taking up dollars of your stock and therefore limiting how much profit you can get. Your customer is not buying those things. It's not generating sales. It's not doing you any good. If you don't have a POS system, it may be a little bit more difficult, but take a look at the back. What isn't selling? What has been there for a very long time? I was at a retailer, and thank goodness it wasn't a pet retailer, but I was somewhere last week, and an employee stopped me and she said, I've been here 5 years, and there's some of this merchandise that has been here 5 years. Let me say this to you. Your customer doesn't care anymore. They are walking past it. If it's been that on the shelves that long, the customer has chosen not to like it for a reason. My job is to help you all not take it personally, move past this, mark down, move on, and find something that they do want. The second piece that will help you improve your profits is to create what I'm calling an obsolescence strategy with seasonal items. So we're coming up into summer. What products do you carry for summer only, whether that's pool toys for the dog, or outdoor sprinklers for the dog, or some sort of fun summer products, any kind of outdoor shampoos or bug products that only sell in a certain time of year in the summer season. What I want you to do is think about buying them, and then when do you want to be out of those seasonal products? So go to the last day that you want to sell them, and now come up with a plan that says between now and then, how many do I need to sell? What levels of inventory do I need to carry? And when do I need to start marking these things down, even if it's a temporary, take 25% off this weekend only, or if it's a hard markdown, but I want to be out of this merchandise by X date, by Labor Day, by the middle of August. A great example would be is if you sell Halloween costumes for pets. Perfect time to be out of them is October 30th. Same thing with Christmas, toys and treats. I want to be out of that by December 24th. So what do you need to do to liquidate seasonal items? Come up with a plan in advance, monitor the plan, and you will see a much better sell-through because you're paying attention to it. Okay? So hopefully you all agree. You can take markdowns. They're not a bad thing. And drink fine wine in your personal life, but don't have account for inventory in your retail store. So that's a big way to improve your profits, the most important way. Many of you, inventory is your biggest expense. So I spend a lot of time on that because I want to make sure you understand that it is a critical key to improving profits. We could spend the whole hour talking about inventory management, but we're not going to today. The next thing I want to talk about is your marketing. And I'm sure you've all been to a bunch of different webinars, seminars, at trade shows talking about marketing. And I'm going to continue to talk about social media marketing with you today and ways to improve your marketing efficiency. And the reason I am is your customers are there. So in my case, the word I want to use is modernize your marketing approaches to meet your customers where they are shopping. And in some cases, many of you have understood that that might be Facebook, that Facebook fans check in, they become educated with your business, they become entertained, they become engaged with your business, and that's a great place to meet them. And if you have a caveat here, if your business is 10 years old, 15 years old, 100 years old, and you have a very loyal customer base who gets your regular newsletter via email once a week, once a month, you do a printed catalog once a year, you do a postcard to announce your biggest sale, I am not telling you to stop doing those things. I am asking you to just pay attention to their effectiveness, right? We were talking about inventory effectiveness. Now we're talking about marketing effectiveness. When you do your annual postcard to send it out, do you know how many are returned? Do you put a call to action, as in bring this coupon in and get $5 off of a free gift so that you can see how many are being redeemed? When you do an email coupon that says use this coupon and get, are you paying attention to how many emails you send out, how many are opened, and then how many are redeemed? It makes it much easier today on Facebook because you can see how many people like and share and comment, and you can do a coupon on Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter, and you can determine how many people convert a bit more effectively than on traditional marketing. But you should still be reviewing whatever marketing you're doing currently to determine if it's effective. In essence, anytime you're paying money for marketing services, my objective for you to improve your profits is to assess how much money you spent in whatever channel you did and what kind of return you got. How many people responded, how many people spent money, and based on them spending money, how much did they spend as a percent of what this cost me? Social media, and why we're talking about it, is your customers are there, but it is also a very efficient way of communicating to a large audience for a very low cost. And another big social media tool, many of you may have attended our webinar on Instagram where we talked about this newest. It's not even new anymore. It is almost 5 years old. While we might have been talking about it for 5 years, those in the social media community have. But Instagram is a picture tool and a video tool that is reaching customers today because it hits customers where they want to be talked to. It is a mobile device that is shown on a phone, on a tablet, and that is a very critical place to meet your next customers. They are using that mobile device, not so much for, if you're a baby boomer like me, as a phone to call people, but as a GPS, as a computer lookup, as a text communicating tool. And the question I have for you and your pet business is, how are you using your mobile marketing efforts, i.e. your Instagrams, i.e. connecting on Facebook, to meet customers for your pet business? It is as I said, it is the first point of contact for the majority of customers today. A great way to see this, if you have Facebook for your pet store, you can go into your Insights tab and you will actually be able to look at how people are viewing where they are viewing. Are they viewing on a PC? Are they viewing on a mobile device? FYI, if you have an email program like a Constant Contact, you can also see where people are viewing your emails. It'll say how many opened it on a mobile device. As we continue to get more and more engrossed, as consumers get more and more engrossed in mobile, my hope for you, and again, improving the efficiency and improving the profits for your pet business, is to connect where these customers are, whether that's on social media, Facebook, or Instagram, or down the road on a mobile marketing campaigns. We won't talk about that today, but just know that it's coming. Okay? Don't panic, but it's coming. The other tool that for your business, whether you are an e-commerce business or not, that is not, when I talk about buying on social, direct to sales from social media, I am not talking about a direct link to a shopping cart on your website. Although if you're an e-commerce retailer on this webinar, obviously that is a tool you can use. For the rest of you, it can link to an email. So your Facebook page, you can sell and say, if you want one of these, like this post, comment here, send us an email, tell us. There are buy it buttons. You can set up a Facebook shop. There are links from Instagram. So there are many what they're calling social commerce tools today. I want you to understand your customers are driving this. Most cases, independent retailers are not using social commerce as much as consumers are. So how do you look like a modern pet retailer? How do you look like a modern retailer, even though you have a brick and mortar store and somebody has to come in your front door? You can still prompt your customers and make it appear that you can be social sellers. And that is, again, a link on your Instagram page that says, tell us you want this, buy this here. A Facebook shop on your Facebook page that says, buy this here. Even an email that says, send us a note and buy this here. Your customer wants, and is, not just wants, is buying other products online. And even though you have a brick and mortar location, you have to show your customer that you are modern and that you can service their need. Does not mean they won't still need to come in your store to buy, but what it does mean is that, to pick up I should say, but that does mean that they could buy at 10 o'clock at night when your store is not open, because they looked at your Facebook page, because they looked at your Instagram page, and you prompted them to buy something there. Hopefully that makes sense to all of you. It is not about you in this case. It is much more about how comfortable your customers are buying and shopping online. And as a pet retailer in 2017 and beyond, you need to match your customers' mindset. They are more comfortable buying online right now than you are selling online. And in pointing this out to you today, it is not to tell you and to berate you, it's just to show you the opportunity. Your customers or potential new customers are moving ahead of you here, and we just have to catch up to them. So the third category and the last category we're going to talk about here is your vendor relationships. This is a critical piece, obviously, to all of your businesses today in understanding what makes profit and what doesn't, and really to understand how the partnership can exist with your vendors for your pet business. And many of you use distributors. We could add that into whether it's a vendor or a distributor relationship. How do you deal with your distributors? How do you deal with directly when you talk to vendors about enhancing your business? And I'm going to give you a bunch of different ways to talk to them and to get them to help you with your business. So first and foremost, and I should say this is the reason that I went into business for myself. I used to work for big companies, and I saw what they gave to large box stores, and then I saw what they did for independents, and I wanted to share these tools. These next two slides, like I said, are the reason I went into business, because some version of all these things exist for in the relationship between big manufacturers and larger retailers. I'm saying this to you because I do not want you to hear me say that the relationship you have with your vendors or your distributors is adversarial. It is absolutely not. It is a convivial relationship. It is absolutely critical to the success of your business that you have good relationships. But what I'm suggesting to you is collaborate with your key vendors, with your key distributors. Talk to them, work with them, make a plan with them, and discuss how you can improve business together, and maybe some of these things are tools to do that. So the first thing that we look to, obviously, product discounts. Whether you're at a show like Global, whether you're at a buying show, whether you're working through a distributor. Are there product discounts that you can ask for, that you can take advantage of? My caveat here is sometimes you'll go to a show and they will say, we have a show special, which is great. I want you to be able to take advantage of all those, as long as the units that you are required to buy are not too many units that you can't go through those things, because it's not worth the discount you're going to get if the suggested order is 12 pieces and you've only sold 6 in the last year. Essentially, for getting a small discount, you're actually buying 2 years worth of merchandise. So I want the product discounts to be great, and maybe you can negotiate a little bit on the units, but mostly I want you to ask and make sure that you are getting the best opportunity for your business at any time. The next thing would be shipping terms. Who pays shipping? How is that negotiated? Is that done on an annual basis? Is that done, and again, I'm talking about distributors versus a direct relationship with the manufacturer here, but in terms of shipping terms, who pays shipping? How many shipments are allowed per purchase order? This is one thing that, in terms of saving money and improving the profits, you can change right away. When you create a purchase order and you're paying shipping, change the terms to must be, or make a note that it says it must be 80 or 90% complete before shipping. That way you're only getting 1 to maybe 2 shipments on an order. I have seen purchase orders with my customers where there is a 24-piece order and there have been 8 or 9 shipments against that, and as an independent retailer, that you can't make money that way. So clarify the shipping terms with your vendors when you go direct. Work with your distributors on shipments and multiple shipments and changing that. Payment terms is another tool and another question to ask. Are you on a credit card payment because you're relatively new? How long will it take for you to move from a payment via credit card to invoicing, and when can you bill me? If I pay this bill within X days of the end of the month, can I get a payment discount? It's worth asking the question because it's a deterrent to your bottom line profits anytime payment terms are not in your favor. So between product discounts, shipping terms, and payment terms. These are really critical, and I would call these operational tools, but it will help in your cost of goods reduction on any product that you carry in your pet store today. Now let's talk about marketing support. And again, in terms of marketing, how do you ask your vendors and distributors to support you? Are there retail services? Do they come in and help you position product on your shelves? Do they help you with training for your staff? And I use the word come in. Many companies today are doing online trainings. What does that look like? Some of you are participating in the pet store program. That is a great retail service. Do you use it effectively? Do you have your staff, when there's new modules come in, do you have them take all the new modules? But that is a company that does a great job of providing you a retail service to help improve the experience in your retail store. Now translate that to the vendors that you work with and partner with. What are the training that they can provide for your staff? That is a really good retail service. Let's talk about social media advertising support. This is a game changer as far as I'm concerned, because many independent retailers like yourselves would go to somebody and ask for, I want to run a newspaper ad, and that's going to be $300 to $500, and the answer was, your purchases don't support that. We don't have enough money in our budget. We just don't do that. Changing the conversation to, I want to run $5 or $5 $10 Facebook ads with your product over the next 5 weeks, 2 months. It is a much easier ask than it used to be. If you went to 10 of your suppliers and said, can you give me $25 each? Or can you give me merchandise credit in the tune of $20, $25, and I am going to promote your products on our Facebook page, your marketing efforts will be ramped up. You will be in front of your customers more often with the products that you sell. You can promote those products. You're spreading the word, driving additional sales. And again, the ask is $25, not $200. So I would urge you all to start with a small ask, $25 credit for social media, or credit on an invoice, and you will be pleasantly surprised, I think, at how your vendors will respond. The other thing is, don't forget, we're sitting here on a webinar today, so we're using technology. How do you use your social media pages? How do you use the social media pages of the vendors that you partner with? Do you share those pages on your sites? If manufacturers are doing great videos and are doing fun contests, or are running surveys or sharing information, do you share those pages via your social media pages? That is a really good way to do more content for your pages, by sharing the larger pages of your vendors. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube videos, Facebook Live events and activities. You should be sharing all their social activity. Here are some other ways to think about this. And again, these are sort of a deeper relationship, and some of you may not be familiar with some of these, but all of the majors, retailers, big box chain stores, are asking for these. And it may not be something you're comfortable with doing today, but I just want you to know that it exists and it's out there. So there are new products. Can you ask for a limited term exclusive? Let me sell this in my trading area first. Whether that's new products, whether that's new, key products, whether that's seasonal, whether you get first delivery of these items. And the reason you want this is so that you can share that experience with your customer, and that you can become the go-to destination for the newest, the latest, the greatest of any product. That in your customer's eyes, you're going to be the one that has things first. You build yourself an expertise, and that your customers begin to understand to look for you for those new items first. And it just starts with one. And it starts with words in your marketing, whether, again, whatever channel you market in, whether your website, social media, or your email, exclusive distributors, first in the area to have limited distribution because it's a key size or it's a key product that only you are going to have first. The next thing is what's called a sell-through agreement. So you've got lots of people that want you to test their products. We're expanding our brand. This is something we're offering. We want you to try it. We think it'll be great in your store. You can say to your vendor, okay, I'll test this. You want me to buy 6 pieces? You want me to buy 12 pieces? Let's come up with an agreement that if I don't sell, let's take 12 pieces. If I don't sell 8 pieces of these 12 within 2 months, you'll take them back. That would be a sell-through agreement. Or I bought 12 pieces of this last year, and now they're saying this is going to be our best seller this year. We want you to buy more this year. Buy 18 this year. Buy 24 this year. It's the same thing. I'm willing to up my purchases. I'll put it in front. You've negotiated. They've given you $20 of social media marketing. So we think because we're doing it in a better position, because we're doing some marketing on it, we would like to sell 24 as well. But let's just be clear. If we don't sell 18 of the 24, you'll take the units back. That is called a sell-through agreement. And that may not be for all of you. That may be, feel uncomfortable for some of you, but what we're trying to do is to get the relationship to work between your vendors and you in a little bit more. I want you to have the newest, the latest, and greatest products, but I also, as you saw in the first section here, don't want you to carry too much merchandise. So having a sell-through agreement will help you limit your downside risk if it doesn't work. Sometimes you can ask for what I'm calling inventory management via returns. So if you work with a distributor and say, hey, this product isn't working for me, let me send this back to you and let me take something that is working for me. That works usually for both people. The earlier you can get and identify that the product is not working for you, you will have, having worked on the vendor side, the quicker you can get to them and say something is not working, the more flexibility they typically will have with you because they can turn around and try and sell that product to somebody in season. And the last tool here is markdown funding. So I didn't have a sell-through agreement. These products, you didn't want to take them back from me, but I'm stuck with 8 pieces of this product and I have nowhere to go. I've marked it down. My customers still don't want it. You don't want to take it back to me. Can you work with me and give me a credit on my invoice or, give me some money so that I can lower the cost more so that I can get rid of this merchandise and I can bring in more of your other products that are selling. Again, I put up this image here to remind you. This is not adversarial. I'm not looking for you to make this adversarial. In general, you want to sell more products and your vendors and distributors that you work with want you to buy more product from them. So when you approach it in a relationship way that says we can both win in this relationship, that's what I'm trying to get to here for all of you, which at the end of the day, because you're sitting here and I'm giving you a webinar about how to improve your profits, I really want you all to be able to make more money. Again, whether that's your inventory, that's, making your inventory your priority, making marketing your priority, making your vendor relationships your priority. Some of you may be the sole proprietor, so you can't focus on every area at once. Some of you may be in a bigger store situation where you could have your buyer work on your inventory pieces and your vendor pieces. Some of you may have a marketing director or someone that helps you with marketing, and you could get them to focus on that. But really, if you took a look at the strategic pieces of your business, managing your expenses, increasing your sales, and driving your inventory turnover, and lowering, obviously, your cost of goods by working with your vendors, those are the critical pieces for all of you. So hopefully we've been able to answer some questions. I've left about 11 minutes, and I'm hoping you all have lots of questions, and we'll turn it over and see if our question guru, Alan, did we get any questions here that people want answered? Or if you guys have questions now, feel free to log them in and we'll answer them in real time for you.
Yeah, we certainly got lots of questions here today, so hopefully we can get through all of them. If not, we'll be happy to answer your questions post this live event. by letting either Lynn or myself know, and we'll respond in kind. The first question comes from Patrick. In a market where pricing elasticity is low, how do you recommend raising prices for services and goods sold?
So a perfect example I have for you, I mentioned treats earlier. I appreciate that in some cases you have standard pricing or you're up against the competition, but are you reviewing your profit or your, I should say, markup goals by category? I work with pet retailers who get somewhere between 60 and 70% markup on treats because they've sourced all natural treats from their local market. They work with people, and then I work with people that only get Keystone or double, 2 times on their treats. So for me, the difference between, a treat margin at 50% and 60 or 70%, that's a huge opportunity. So I don't think it's in every area, but I do think it is in key areas of your business. Also sourcing. Food, I know, is tighter margins here. However, as more people have come into the food market, it's given some opportunities for a little bit more markup in the food category. Accessories and apparel is another one in this pet business. Are you taking just Keystone or 2 times on your apparel and accessories, or are you taking Keystone +2 or Keystone +5? It is a function of, that's the other reason for when I was talking to you about exclusive products. If you drive that method right there of purchasing, and I want to be the only one in the market that has it, you will have some opportunity to have some more advantageous pricing for you and make a little bit more money because there's no price sensitivity in your local market for that product. So that's another way to take a look at it. By category and then by product.
And I think something that kind of goes along with this, perhaps also the subject of a whole entire webinar, how do you bring up MAP pricing to your vendors? How do you kind of explore the opportunity of perhaps maybe offering at a lower price than your vendor wants you to?
Well, in a lot of cases, I think this goes to the relationship that you have with your vendors. And in some cases, I say power is knowledge. So when you go back and you analyze your competition or the big box people in your area or what is being offered and what your customer has access to, and you present that sort of logically and say, hey, this is what I am up against here. What can we do to support this? It may be that your pricing isn't the same, but you can offer some sort of gift with purchase from a vendor. And also to say, hey, listen, I have lots of opportunity, and again, not being adversarial here, but saying this pricing doesn't work for me. I am trying to get to 55%, 52%, overall markup in this category, and you're, based on what you're selling to other people, I am at 45 from you. If I have choices of vendors, do I decide that I'm going to go work with other people because my pricing is? So it is more about I do think you can't be adversarial, but you have to be confident in saying, hey, this is where other people are in the market and I'm not able to make money. What can we do collaboratively to make this work for me as well? Or do I have to go to somewhere else?
Right. And then with your vendor relationships, do they come up with those contracts for sell-through, or is that something that is standard? Does each contract differ?
So that is something that I don't think most of you will hear from from one of your vendors on your own. That again is you're being armed with knowledge and going back to them and saying, typically a good sell-through would be in your particular case, if we're talking about selling through 8 to 10 times a year, you should be able to turn a product, but somewhere between 6 and 8% weekly. So if you had, let's just keep it simple. If you had 10 items, obviously, if you sold 1 a week, that would be a 10% sell-through. So you want to try, if it's an item that you're not going to restock, even if it is a seasonal item, you want to get to somewhere between 6, 8, maybe even 10% weekly sell-through. So if you were going to carry this item And my example before was I'll bring it in for 12 weeks, and if in 12 weeks I don't sell 8, which 8 of 12 is a 66% sell through. 8 weeks divided by 66, that's about an 8% sell through a week. So that's how you come up with those numbers. 6 to 10% is a good weekly sell through. So if you buy 10 units in I want to sell through, or 12 units, I want to sell through 8 of those in 8 weeks. That's how I come up with it. Does that make sense?
And it does. Thank you. And I think another topic for a whole nother webinar is how do you compete with the big box, not the big box, the big online retailers like Amazon, like Chewy's. I know it's tough to do, and map pricing might help that, but how does one go about, is it a vendor relationship? What would you suggest?
So my big comment here is I don't think you can outspend them because they're digital, advertising is their whole game here. But what I think you can do is be yourself and be really good at what you do. And one of the things that to me you have is a emotional relationship with your customers or potential customers. And social media is a great place to explore that. Keep in mind, big box retailers or online retailers today, their first and only interaction with customers is online. So they are able to emotionally somehow connect, and whether that's just pricing or it's what they do, customers are willing to have an online relationship. So now go back and ask yourself, again, talking about marketing efficiency and engagement using social media, what emotional connection do you make with your customers or potential new customers online? Do you show pictures of pets in your store? Do you talk about happy celebrations, birthday parties, sad, notes that pets have passed away and, sad and sorry to hear that? Do you show the emotional connections of videos of dogs playing and people being happy and getting licked by pets, or do you just monologue out, buy these products from me? It is about creating an emotional connection and leading that emotional connection to your store. And what we talked about as well, does it feel to your customers that they can purchase from you how they want to? An online purchase, I don't have to talk to anybody. I get the features and benefits of the product. I see the price clearly, and I'm told when I will get it delivered. Think about your business, and if you couldn't talk to your customer, which is what you all rely on, and I'm not telling you to make that go away, but I'm trying to urge you to think, how do you communicate with a customer that doesn't really want to talk to you anymore? That is a big shift in the consumer mindset. Do you have great pictures in your store? Do you have great signage in your store? Do you use social media to tell your story emotionally and effectively? That is going to be the way that you are going to compete with the big box retailers, in that you get into the hearts and minds of that same customer in the same way that those online retailers do, and do it in a much more local way.
Thank you, Lynn. I certainly learned a lot today, especially one of my takeaways was keeping your merchandise fresh. And where do you learn of new products besides trade shows and buying shows? Well, PetAge offers new product section every month. You can go online, or you can subscribe to our print product monthly, and you can find our new product section right at the beginning of the magazine. I want to thank our sponsor, Sturtevant's Veterinary Remedies, for making today's webinar a great success. A recording of today's webcast will also be accessible on petage.com, where you can replay the webinar anytime you like. In addition, we ask that you answer a quick survey about today's webinar that should appear on your screen once you exit. We'd love to hear your feedback. And if you're interested in digital marketing services, some of the things that Lynn had talked about today, let PetAge know. We could possibly help you. Please look for information on future webcasts in our series, including a June broadcast on how to connect your marketing messages to both boomers and millennials. Again, I want to thank Sturtevant's Veterinary Remedies for sponsoring today's webcast, Lynn Switanowski Barrett, Pet Store Pro, and from PetAge. Have a great day. Goodbye, everybody.